I'm so happy you are here. I'm so grateful for this hour of presence and practice that we get to do together. And then you can bring your hands down. You can sit in any comfortable position, and we will begin to flow in just a few moments. But what I was thinking about this morning in terms of what I wanted to share was I wanted to announce, or I guess confess, if you will, that I fell off the wagon this week. Not the way you might think. I'm capable of falling off the wagon in that way. But what I mean is, more appropriately, would be to say I fell off the wheel. And Ram Dass provides a really beautiful way of understanding what it means to be in the world, but not of it. And to understand why we do these spiritual practices, like we're about to do one of, called yoga. And he describes it like this. He says, imagine that there's a wheel and that you have one of your feet on the circumference of the wheel and the other foot on the hub of the wheel. And most of us, before we start to wake up and before we begin to have a spiritual practice, we will put much more of our weight down in the foot that is on the circumference of the wheel. And what that means is that we live much more in the melodrama of life. We are caught up in all the spinnings and the churnings and the drama and the tweets and all that is happening, and it pulls us out of our center. That other foot that is standing on the hub is the place in all of us that is our quiet, still center. And when we begin to engage in a spiritual practice, what we are simply doing is bringing ourselves over and over and over again to practices that say, shift your weight. Shift your weight from being out here on the circumference of the wheel towards being on the hub of the wheel. And when we do that, when we shift our weight to the hub, we tap into this quiet center. You could also say we tap into the mind of God. And when we remember that place, and when we can utilize that place in all of us, we can start to make decisions and respond to all that's happening out there on the circumference of the wheel in a different way. We can respond to it in a more mindful, present, and heart-centered way, rather than a way that is based in fear and drama and the spectacular nature of all that is happening out there, outside of us. So when we first start practicing any kind of spiritual practice, and the one that would come to mind for most of us in terms of getting to the center, to that hub, would be meditation. But meditation is hard for lots of us to go from being out here, like being, battled around by life, to sitting quietly and really being meditation is a practice, and it takes time. So initially we just start doing it, or we do things that can help us get to a quiet seat, like asana practice is. Asana is a way to get the wiggles and the jiggles out. It's a way to start to connect to our breath and our body in a way that we can get one step closer to the hub of the wheel. Okay? So I offer that to you as an understanding of how all of these spiritual practices that we do, mantra, prayer, meditation, asana practice, all are designed to help us shift our weight from the circumference to the hub of the wheel. Okay? So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes now and just to do give you one more analogy or metaphor for how we can move through the world, being in the world, but not of it. Okay? And so with your eyes closed, imagine that you are a person gathered at a well, and you are there to fetch water. So you dip your jug into the well, fill it, and then you place that jug on top of your head. And then you turn away from the well and you start with the others that you went to the well with to walk back to the village. And this jug of water is propped on top of your head. And on your whole walk back to the village, you're talking, you're laughing, you're gossiping, you're diving into the drama of the day, both the good and the bad drama of the day or of the time. But you always remember that there is this jug of water on top of your head. So you move along your path simultaneously being in the world, noticing it, experiencing it, digesting it, responding to it, but always doing so coming from this place, this mindful place of remembering the jug of water on top of your head. That jug of water is your still, quiet place. It is the reminder that you need to go back to a center, still, upright, aligned place in order to move through the world in a centered place from the mind of God. So once more, before we practice, gather your hands together in your heart. This is another place that we honor as yogis, as our still, quiet place. The place we forget to live from, and then we remember to live from. And then we forget again, and then we remember again. And the more times we come back to this place, remembering who we are at the center, the easier the practice becomes. The more natural it becomes to dip back in to this well. Because this well, we realize, fills us. This well reminds us of the way to move through life. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Open your mouth and exhale it out. And then blink your eyes open. Look around, see life at the circumference, and let's practice. Okay. So if you are sitting in Vrksasana like I am, uncross your legs. If you're on a cushion or a block of some sort, come off of that. And then bring your feet out in front of you. Set them about hip distance apart, maybe just a tiny bit more than that. You can just rest gently back on your hands behind you. And then to the count of 10, we're going to stomp our feet. And at the end of the count of 10, we're going to do a lion's breath, which is sticking your tongue out and I think know it, okay? So begin with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to repeat that 2 more times. Stomp hard, really make some noise, really feel your body, really come into really even the disturbance of it all. And then lion's breath, let it go, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now come right up into boat pose, please. Just a modified boat where your shins become parallel to the ground, arms are out alongside your legs. Navel presses back towards the spine. And it's a real waking up moment, feeling the whole body engaged in the practice of being right here. Take a deep breath in. Press your feet down on the ground. Send your belly through the center of your legs. Exhale again. One more of those. Inhale, come back up into boat pose. Feel your spine growing long, chest forward, belly engaged, legs engaged. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lion's breath. Feet on the ground. And then crisscross your legs. Come forward and come into tabletop position, please. Once you arrive in tabletop position, make some circles with your hips first. Just kind of like you're moving around, maybe on that circumference of the wheel. Shifting your weight from one knee to one hand to the other hand to the other knee. Just kind of churning around, and then switch directions. Just kind of feeling what it feels like to move and shift and lean in different ways, and be taking ourselves mindfully, purposefully into the place that we want to be, which is in the center. So pause, find some stillness. Just be here in tabletop, gaze down between your thumbs, navel towards spine. Draw your tailbone towards the back of your mat, the crown of the head towards the front, and just be here. Deep breath in, curl your toes under, go to downward facing dog when you exhale. Shift your weight back and forth between one foot and then the other here. Finding imbalance or being off balance, you could say, before you find the center. Stillness, both heels towards the ground, hips high, arms stretched out in front of you, pressing down into the ground. 4 points, lean into them. Maybe you close your eyes here, you pay attention to your breath coming in through your nose, traveling throughout your body, and then exhaling it and letting it all go. Now walk forward, come to the top of your mat with your feet right up near your wrists, bend your knees a lot, press your belly into your thighs. Let your head hang straight down so your chin will come close and tuck into your neck some. Rock back and forth on the front and the back of your feet. Feel what it feels like here to be on one edge and then the other edge and then into the center. You can crisscross your arms and find a ragdoll position, which will allow gravity to carry you a little deeper into the Uttanasana, forward fold. Release your hands and then walk your hands up the fronts of your legs here. Come all the way up to a standing position. Sweep your arms up over your head and then draw your hands down in front of your heart before they come to Tadasana, mountain pose, arms at your side. Okay? Allow your shoulders to drop down away from your ears. And just focus on your pelvis here for a moment. Think about your pelvis as a bowl. And how do you carry the water that is in that bowl so it doesn't splash out the front of the bowl or the back. And just level that bowl out. Take a deep breath in and sweep your arms up over your head. Bring your hands down through the center as you exhale into a forward fold. Come up into a halfway lift and breathe in, and then bend your knees, plant your palms, and step back to downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, come out long into a plank pose. Now your knees can stay up or they can come down. We're going to pulse 3 times here. So the inhale, you round up through your spine, chin towards your chest. The exhale brings you back into plank. Okay, inhale, roll and coil up through the spine. And then exhale, come back to length. And then one more, inhale, navel to spine, chin towards your chest. Exhale, pull out long to plank. Lower your knees, come all the way down onto your belly, keeping your elbows right next to your body. Turn the tops of your feet into your mat. Inhale, lift up into a Bhujangasana. Lower your chin back down towards the floor and do 2 more of those. Inhale, lifting. Feel the pinky toe side of your foot pressing into the mat just as much as the big toe mound. Come up once more, breathing in. Exhale, lower down. Curl your toes, go through tabletop on your way to downward facing dog. When you inhale, lift your right leg towards the sky. When you exhale, pull your right knee into your belly and coil, lift and round through the spine again. Send your right leg back up towards the sky. And then pull your right knee back into center again. Once more, inhale, lift your right leg, step your right foot forward between your thumbs, and lower your left knee down to the mat. Just prop up on your fingertips here. Be in this lunge for a breath, and then lift your back knee. And we're going to pulse through lunge here too. So inhale, lift up through the center of the body, and then exhale, come back out into the expression of a lunge. 2 more of those. Inhale, chin towards your chest. Exhale, right knee forward, left heel back. Once more, inhale, coil. Exhale, extend. Now walk your hands around to the left side of your mat. Pause when you get there, okay? Your feet are out wide. Turn your heels in just ever so slightly. Take your hands over to your ankles here. And then press your elbows towards your knees. Let your tailbone go down towards the mat. And so you're kind of looking forward out in front of you. Kind of arms and legs connected, gaze just out in front. Take a breath in, release your ankles, walk your hands around to the back of your mat, and step back into a downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, come out long to plank pose, knees up or down, lower down onto your belly. Roll up into Bhujangasana, and make your way back to downward facing dog, whether you move through tabletop or right there. Now lift your left leg. Pull your left knee into your belly, coil through the middle. Inhale, send the left leg up to the sky. Exhale, pull the left knee in. 1 more of those. Inhale, extend. Exhale, pull the left knee in. Look forward and step the left foot forward. Lower your right knee to the ground. Just be here, feel the lunge, and then lift your right knee up off the ground. 3 rounds of pulsation. So inhale, chin to chest, roll the spine up. Exhale, out long. Number 2, back to lunge. And then number 3. Come back to lunge. Right from lunge, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale a breath. As you exhale, walk to the top of your mat, which is the back of your mat. Fold into yourself and roll all the way up to a high mountain pose and go right back down to forward fold. So as you exhale, take the hands down through the center of the body, hinge at the hips, and fold. Step your right foot to the back of your mat. Walk around to the right side of your mat here. Same thing, heels in, toes out, real high malasana, but your hands stay connected to your wrists here. Just peek out beyond your mat, send your tailbone kind of down and forward. You really feel that on the inner thigh. Okay, Petros, can you bend your knees a little more? Good, 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 good. Okay, now walk to the front of your mat and step back to downward facing dog. Right away, walk to the top of your mat, fold into yourself in Uttanasana as you exhale all the breath out. Come all the way up to high mountain pose. Sit down in Utkatasana. Take a breath in and then forward fold as you breathe out. Step your right foot to the back of your mat. Send your heart forward as you breathe into the lunge and then exhale to downward facing dog. Listen, pull out long to plank. Shift both your heels to the right and find side plank, just a wave. Left arm reaches up, and then you wave your left arm back down. You're in plank, knees up or down, lower to your belly. Inhale, come up into Bhujangasana. Exhale your way to downward facing dog. Take a breath in. Exhale it out. Inhale, walk to the top of your mat. Fold deep into yourself as you exhale. Come up into high mountain pose, sweeping the arms wide and then high. Sit down in Utkatasana when you breathe out. Stay right here for an inhale. Forward fold as you exhale. Step your left foot all the way to the back of your mat. Feel the lunge. Move right into plank pose. From plank, shift both your heels to the left. Sweep your right arm up to the sky. Look at it. And then bring your right arm back down to the ground. You're back in plank. Lower the way you're going to lower, either knees up or down. And you can go all the way this time or part of the way this time. Coming into Bhujangasana or upward facing dog, and then moving to downward facing dog. Stay for one full breath cycle here. And then look to the top of your mat and step, jump, or walk there as you exhale. Fold in. Arriving in high mountain at the top of your inhale and sitting down in Utkatasana as you exhale that breath out. Stand up, find a little back bend as you lift your heart towards the sky and look up, and then bring your hands to your heart as you exhale. Big sweep of your arms out wide and then high. Forward fold as you exhale. Step your left foot to the back of your mat. Turn your heel down. Come up and open into Warrior Two. So sweep your left arm around behind you. Bend into your front leg, the right one. Settle your shoulders down your back, but send the energy out your fingertips. Gazes out over your right fingers. Gaze is steady and focused and warrior-like. Focused on the center. Not where you need to get to, but where you want to get back to. Turn your right palm up Tip it back into peaceful warrior. And then windmill your hands down to the ground. When your hands get down, turn your back heel up towards the sky. Now wave your right arm up and then sweep your right arm under your right thigh. It's like an elephant trunk sweeping under the right thigh. And then on your inhale, you take the right arm up and the gaze looks up at your right fingers. As you exhale, roll the spine up and sweep your right arm under your right thigh. One more of those. And then sweep. From here, we're just going to step forward. Left foot is going to step up by the right one. And you fold in. And then you come right up into Utkatasana from here. And then you stand up. Find a little back bend at the top. And then you bring your hands to your heart. Big sweep, inhale. High mountain. Exhale, forward fold. Step back with your right foot this time. Wave your arms up into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Find the elements here. Both feet rooted, left knee bent this time. Shoulders down, fingertips alive with energy. Focus is inward. All right, peaceful warrior. Inhale, sweep the left arm up and over. Cartwheel your hands down to the ground. When they get down, turn your back heel up towards the sky and lift your left arm. 3 rounds here. Inhale here. Exhale, left arm under. Really take your spine up and curl it towards the sky. 2 more. Inhale, lift your left arm. Exhale, round through the spine, sweep your arm. 1 more. Inhale. And exhale. Just look forward, step your right foot up by your left one. You'll be in a halfway lift, and then take it into a full forward fold. Right up into Utkatasana. Stand up, lift your heart up, gaze beyond and above you, and then pull your prayer right down into the center of your heart. Big sweep, inhale. Forward fold, exhale. Step back with your left foot, seal the heel to the ground, cascade up and open into Virabhadrasana 2. Right away, tip back into peaceful. And then come into side angle from here. So keep the front leg bent. You can either bring your right arm down to your right thigh or bring your hand down by your right ankle. Left arm comes alongside your head here. Okay? So take a breath in here. Now listen, bring your left arm out in front and then around in front of you along the left side of your mat and all the way back by your left hip. And then sweep it again, same thing along the horizon. Bring it back into side angle shape and then follow the horizon 1 more time. Bring your left arm along back by your hip. And then press up to Warrior 2. Tip back to peaceful. And move it into triangle now. So straighten the right leg. Reach beyond your mat with your right fingertips before you take your right hand to the ground and your left arm up. So as you're in this shape, go back to thinking about the pelvic bowl. And if it feels like you're sticking your booty out, which would mean that the front of your pelvic bowl is splashing forward and down, adjust that. And that'll just bring the whole center of the body into this tall Tadasana shape. Now bend your right knee, come back up to warrior two. Take a nice deep sip of breath in as you tip back into peaceful one more time. Windmill all the way down to your mat. Step back through plank, or you could go right to down dog. But if you're in plank, lower down halfway or all the way. Come into your back bend and move it in to downward facing dog. Inhale a breath here. Stay and exhale it out. And then look to the top of your mat and step, jump, or walk there as you exhale. Fold in. Rise to Utkatasana for a breath in and a breath out. Stand up, splash open into a back bend, and go right from there all the way down into a forward fold. Step back with your right foot. Come up and open into Virabhadrasana 2. Tip it back into peaceful. And transition into side angle. So whether the left arm props gently on the left thigh or goes down by the left ankle, right arm alongside your head. Take a breath in, let your right arm travel along the horizon. Take it all the way back by your right hip. You can look at it and then bring it back. Let it travel that same path and then do that again. This is just to distract you from being in side angle so long. Do one more. Feeling like there's movement on the perimeter and we're staying still in the center. Press up to warrior two. And then tip back to peaceful and move it into triangle. Left leg straightens and your left hand comes down to the ground. And then you find Tadasana, that shape of 2 feet firmly planted on the ground. Long legs, level pelvic bowl, shoulders pressing away from your ears, arms, crown of head full of life. Good, stay for one more breath. Bend your left knee, press back up into warrior two. Peaceful on the inhale. Windmill down. Step back through plank and chaturanga or go right to downward facing dog. Inhale is always the back bend here, and the return to down dog is always the exhale. Okay? So walk your hands back halfway and walk your feet forward so that you end up in the center of your mat. Okay? Fold into yourself. And then depending upon what is working for you, where you are in your space, maybe you stay facing the way you are, maybe you turn and you face wherever your camera is. And then just roll up to a standing position. Take your shoulders down behind you. Okay. And then crisscross your arms in front of your heart. And then sweep them out alongside of you and lift your right knee up into like a big chair step. Okay? Cross your right knee over to the left side. And then you're coming into Garudasana Eagle. So maybe your right toes come down outside your left ankle. Maybe they wrap and hook behind your left one. Then your right arm goes under your left one. Okay? So this is being on that circumference for sure, but taking our attention to the center. Stay with your breath. And then unwrap everything. Stand on 2 feet. Sweep your arms up and over your head. And then just let your arms come down by your side. Exhale. Crisscross your arms the other way. Sweep them out wide. Chair step your left knee up. Cross your left knee to the right side. And then bend your right knee so that you're setting your left thigh down on top of it. Maybe it's a kickstand, maybe it's a full bind. Right arm goes under. Left arm goes under. And if you've got a shoulder issue too, you can find some other way of doing your arms, like opposite hand to opposite elbow. And then unwrap it, sweep your arms up and over your head. And forward fold down to your mat. When you get all the way down, cross one ankle in front of the other and sit down. Sit down in Sukhasana, easy seat, and blink your eyes closed, please. So I just want you to take that place, the experience of being in the place you just were in Garudasana, and sit with it for a bit. It's such a beautiful symbol of what I'm trying to convey this morning, this idea of like really having to be in the world, which is a lot of standing on one foot, finding our balance, losing our balance, finding our balance, losing our balance. But the way we maintain our integrity, the way we stay true to what we truly believe, is by going inward to that still, quiet center. So sitting here in this moment, having used the movements that you employed to feel what it feels like to shift, to find your way and lose your way, settle into your seat. Here you are with that jug of water on your head. Hold yourself in this most important asana you are in right now, as if you remember that jug of water on your head. Notice where you're clenching in ways that aren't serving you. It's just a habit to do that. Notice where you're numb or not feeling, and send your breath there. That's just habit too. Perhaps you commit to this idea that you're going to move through your life with one foot on the circumference of the wheel and the other foot on the hub. Perhaps you accept that it's the human condition to put your weight down out on that circumference, Perhaps you commit to this idea of employing spiritual practices that remind you to shift your weight back to the center. So you set an intention for yourself that says, I know I'm going to forget, but I'm always going to remember. So we go through our lives forgetting and remembering, losing ourselves and finding ourselves. And all along the way, we have free will. We don't have control over a lot of the things that happen on the circumference, but we do have the free will to choose what we pay attention to. And with practice, it feels natural to come back to this place where we can find the mind of God, where we can find our higher consciousness. And with practice, we start doing it faster and sooner, and we get off the hamster wheel quicker. The more we practice, the simpler life gets. It's not so much that we have to choose anymore by our own free will to do or not to do things. The things that don't fit anymore in the center, they just fall away. Requires so much less efforting the longer we practice. My hope for you, my hope for me is that we constantly remember that. We continually remind ourselves that this practice is getting us someplace. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. Mostly slowly for most of us. But it sure beats the alternative. And finally recognize that the more time you spend in your center, you are upping the vibration around you. And as people come into your sphere, your vibration is contagious. Theirs is too, but yours is more powerful. So being in the midst of a person who is practicing, being in the midst of a person who is tapping into the power of presence and their center, ripples out, and it changes other spirits as well, helps them find their way. So we commit to this practice for our own well-being, but the well-being of all beings simultaneously. Okay, take a couple deeper breaths here. Settle and lighten all at the same time. And then blink your eyes open. If you need to spin back to facing the front of your mat, you can do that. And then straighten your right leg out in front of you. Cross your left foot over to the outside of your right thigh. Prop your left hand behind you a little bit and lift your right arm up. Now your right arm can sweep like that elephant trunk around the front of your left shin, or you could place your elbow down along the outside of your left knee. Think about making the whole body engaged in the pose, which means that we're not slumping through the center. This spine, and specifically a nadi called the Sushumna, is the place we travel back to our center through. So we sit up nice and tall, we breathe nice and full, because that engages this energy that moves through that center and takes us to our center. Beautiful. Now to untwist, come back towards the front. Just move your foot either into a figure 4 or bring your left heel right up towards your right hip so that you kind of have a, I don't know what shape this is, but a more of a bent knee, left knee. And then reach your arms up over your head. And then take your spine nice and long and take it out over your right leg. Just reaching your fingers beyond your right toes. And then you can prop your fingertips down and where they are alongside your leg or out beyond your right ankle. But think about pressing your chest forward as if there was a string on your chest that gently was pulling you forward. Beautiful, then walk your fingers back and come into Jani Shirsasana. So now the left foot is going to come to the inner right thigh. You can take your right leg off on about a 45-degree angle. Extend your arms up again. Turn towards your right thigh and your right ankle. And one more time, you come forward. Maybe you experience a little deeper forward fold because of your foot position here. But this isn't a resting, slouching, just kind of a surrendering type shape at all. This is still a real active shape of extending the spine over the right leg. Walk your hands back, and we'll do the same 3 shapes on the other side. So your left leg is going to stay long, right foot's going to cross over towards the left thigh. Use your left arm up overhead, your right hand behind you. The whole upper body turns towards the right side of your mat. And then there's that sweep of the left arm, either around the front of the right shin or elbow tucking down outside the right thigh. So even though you've left meditation proper, practice finding that meditative state, that state of walking with the jug of water on your head, even though you're starting to engage in movement again. Let's imagine what it would be like to be in meditation all the time. Meaning that is you have your focus still on the center no matter where you are in the world. Okay, twist back toward or untwist to the center. Bring your left foot either into figure 4 or bring the foot up closer to your left hip. Right? Arms overhead and hinge and fold, reaching the heart forward. And then using the breath and softness and quietness to lean into the shape. And then Jani Shirsasana, left foot on the inner left thigh, or right foot on the inner left thigh. Take your left leg off center some. Extend your arms, turn towards your left toes, and go. Exhaling. Maybe you find your first expression, and then after just a couple breaths, you find another expression. And then you just be there. Be right there in the center of it, the way it's presenting itself today. Walk your hands back, sitting up straight. Place both feet out in front of you, about hip distance apart. Extend your arms out in front and lower down onto your back. When you get all the way down, hug your thighs into your belly briefly. Then set your feet down on the floor, right up next to your sit bones, hip distance apart. See your toes in your mind's eye and make sure they're facing straight forward. And then press into your feet. Let the energy ride up your legs. That'll start to lift your backside and your spine up off the floor so you can go up into bridge pose. Think about sending your knees towards the top of your mat. That draws the backside longer and avoids any kind of crunching in the low back. Notice if your little toes have lifted off the floor, or maybe your big toes did. Usually it's the other way around, but find 4 corners on the floor. And then slowly come down. Do it in reverse. First the upper spine, the middle back, and then the lower back find the ground. Deep breath in through the nose. Exhale it out your mouth. And then go again, lifting, lengthening, drawing shoulder blades closer together. And go down nice and slow, all the way back down onto the floor. Hug your knees and thighs into your belly once more. Go into happy baby, bringing your feet up right over your hips. You could stay here, or if you prefer, you could come into a plow briefly, which means rocking your legs up and over behind you, toes touching the floor above your head. Whichever shape you're in, be in it fully. And then slowly come down into Shavasana from where you are. Spread out, lengthen, release, let go. Let your arms rest alongside your body, palms up. Ankles are so relaxed that your feet flap out to the sides of your mat. Chin comes down towards your chest, so the whole back side of your head is resting. And now go home. Go fully and completely into your center being. So now start to breathe a little deeper and notice life at the periphery. Sights and sounds and sensation, smells, all the things happening outside of you. And commit yourself to noticing those things and participating in all of that, remembering your center, moving from your center. So roll on to your side. Keep your eyes closed if you can and press up to a seat. And you can just sit nice and tall, pressing your sit bones into the floor, engaging your core, lengthening through your spine, including the back of your head, sending your crown up towards the sky. Here you are, the hub, the center. Alive, radiant, present. Both witnessing and participating in it all, but always coming from this center place. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. The light and love inside of me honors and sees the light and love inside of you. Namaste.